Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Innovation and Tech segment, brought to you by Caldwell Homes and OGPay.com, we have our returning contributor, Paul Caldwell, Chairman and CEO of Caldwell Homes. And today he's joined by John Kraski, Director of Strategic Partnership at Landvolt.io. He's a Web3 influencer on LinkedIn with over 60,000 followers. He's an executive and creator for some of the top Web3 companies worldwide. He's also the author of the upcoming book, The Future of Community. He's passionate about educating brands and consumers about the world of Web3. Now, I've said this before, but imagine a world where billions of people live, work, shop, learn, and interact with each other, all from the comfort of their couches in the physical world. In this world, the computer screens we use today to connect to a worldwide web of information have become portals to a 3D virtual realm that's palpable, like real life, only bigger and better. Digital facsimiles of ourselves or avatars move freely from one experience to another, taking our identities and our money with us. Today, they join me to chat Web3, the Metaverse, and how Fintech, that's financial technology, will be adapting, fueling, and powering it all. So where does this nascent technology revolution stand today, and where is it headed? Well, let's find out. Welcoming now to the show are my experts at hand, Paul Caldwell and John Kraski. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Hi, Zen.
Hi, Zen. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you both back on. So, John, I'll start with you. You're the founder of Futureproof, a Web3 technology firm dedicated to creating top-tier solutions across multiple disciplines to basically ensure your business remains relevant today and future-proof for tomorrow. Now, Web3 refers to the third generation of the internet, which aims to decentralize and reconfigure the web's infrastructure and services. Unlike Web 2, where centralized corporations controlled data and platforms, Web 3 is built on blockchain and decentralized technologies. But why should people even be thinking about moving their business model to Web 3? What's wrong with Web 2? And if so, what's the best way to make the transition?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I love it. Well, this is obviously where the future is headed. The internet, it's becoming 3D, more immersive. Creators are going to be able to own and monetize their assets better, as well as brands. So we're here really to help them with this transition. We're still very, very early. It's still very nascent stage. I think brands are trying to figure out where they are in terms of entering this new space. We help them figure out what is the best sort of initial entry point. So obviously, I'm working for Landvolt. We're one of the world's largest metaverse builders. We have 120 developers. We've done almost 200 builds in platforms such as Decentraland, Sandbox. Now we're moving more into hyper-realistic environments like Unity, Unreal, also Roblox and Fortnite. A lot of brands are showing interest in. So we're trying to figure out like what is that initial platform that they should start to explore, and then kind of onboard them, build an experience to start to help them better monetize and own their assets. But the creator economy is going nowhere. Obviously, you just saw that Amazon now is working with TikTok. They want to start paying influencers to promote their products. Brands need to be involved because the creators, they're going towards this decentralized universe where they can own and monetize their assets better. So brands better figure it out sooner than later, because if not, there's going to be nobody there to promote their products and services. So obviously, and you also see with former Twitter, now X, they're now starting to give creators better royalties. So the creator power, like the creators are starting to have the power now in this new immersive internet. So you as a brand need to figure it out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's like the boat's leaving. We're on our way out to sea, and you better hop on board, or we're leaving without you. And you're right. The only thing people should be fearing is not being part of it. Now, Paul, Web3, the metaverse, and the evolution of Fintech are all interconnected trends that have the potential to reshape the way we interact with the digital world and financial services. And Web3 introduces the concept of true digital ownership, allowing individuals to have ownership and control over their digital assets and data. And cryptocurrencies and blockchain tech are integral to the metaverse. Now, fintech companies are developing crypto wallets and payment solutions that allow users to make transactions within virtual worlds. How is the OGPay Fintech app proprietary for Web3? And can you talk to us about some of its unique applications, both on the consumer and merchant side?
Sure, Zen. I think just as a follow-on to what was you said earlier, if people think about Web3, first of all, most people don't even know what Web3 is. Even in companies, they don't know. If they just would think about it as the internet on blockchain, just think about it's the internet on blockchain. As simple as that. At the beginning, I think that's the most fundamental explanation. But what I would say in answer to your direct answer to your question is that every company in our portfolio, whether they're consumer brands companies in our publicly traded enterprise fund, or whether they're privately held in our privately held companies fund, all have this on their mind. And I completely agree. Brands have to either get on board, companies have to get on board, or they're going to get simply left behind. From a business point of view, when you get into fintech and OGPay, really what you have is something that OGPay is a payments platform, a payments technology that is a service that people can subscribe to, and it transforms how people think about how they use their money, because you really have things like edge liquidity provisioning. You really have features there that allow people to have all of it in one place and have settlements of digital assets sales settling onto fiat-based wallets and these sorts of things in real time. But the wallet-to-wallet feature, leveraging the new ISO 222, that's all built into a technology like that. I think those types of technologies in the payment space are now and are in the future. Yes, but they're now. They're right now.
Yeah, and OGPay is just exactly that. It's a super fintech app, and I love it for that. Now, let's chat Metaverse, John. The concept is not new. The term Metaverse was coined in 1992 by author Neil Stephenson in his sci-fi novel Snow Crash, and work on the technologies that underpin a virtual reality based on internet date back decades. But because the Metaverse is largely unbuilt, there's little agreement on how it will actually work. But broadly speaking, however, the Metaverse is a digital ecosystem built on various kinds of 3D technology, real-time collaboration software, and blockchain-based decentralized finance tools. You recently claimed in a post that the old term, the Metaverse, is dead. However, the new term 3D internet is not. Please explain.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of seen this evolution of what brands and consumers are ready for in terms of the metaverse over the last few years. We obviously early on in our infancy as a metaverse company leaned into sandbox and Decentraland, super decentralized platforms. Unfortunately, very clunky, not a lot of users, really terrible user experience. And we did close to 200 builds in those platforms. Unfortunately, just nobody's there. So brands and consumers now, whether you love it or not, they believe that the metaverse is platforms like Roblox and Fortnite, which are super, super centralized. But that's where the data and the users are. There's over 60 million people, daily active users in both those platforms. So that's where brands like Nike, LVMH, the list goes on and on. That's where they're putting their dollars, and that's where they're building. And what we do believe is going to happen is that eventually those platforms will turn on the Web3 switch. It's just whenever brands are ready and the technology is ready. I think the technology, there's still a lot of catching up. I mean, I think Paul would also agree. I think that there's just a lot of infrastructure that still needs to be built out. It takes a while to onboard billions and billions of users.
Yeah, it's really just about mass adoption at this point. It's mass adoption, it's about regulation, and it's about following protocols. And when we speak about protocols, this brings me to a great point, Paul, decentralized finance. So DeFi protocols and platforms are being integrated into Web3 and the metaverse, allowing users to access financial services like lending, borrowing, and yield farming directly from virtual worlds. So for the 1.7 billion people that are unbanked and or underbanked, this version of fintech feels like a game changer. How do you envision the metaverse, or to John's point, 3D internet, reshaping the financial services industry and the way we interact with digital assets in the long term? I mean, can the right fintech apps solve real world issues?
I believe absolutely. I think they are today. I think a lot of the features and functionality that you get from your existing banking app on your phone is driven by fintech that someone created at some point that allows that new feature to come about. Look at Zelle, for example, is a great example of a technology looking for a home, and it found it in banking, and it's a great success. There are opportunities abound, basically, and I think there are also roadblocks. I think there are hurdles. I agree with John completely that it's not there yet. The vision is there, but there's always a vision. It's just somebody just needs to have one and write a sci-fi movie or book or something. But then it's coined and names are everywhere. There's been metaverse, universe, omniverse, verse. I mean, so for me, where the rubber meets the road, which is what I have to focus on is return in two portfolios, is that it's very important to find real tangible value, and how that value is going to get grown and delivered to the marketplace. And that's not easy to do in this space because there's a lot of noise. I think it's embryonic right now, but I think yes, in answer to your question, absolutely is the answer. And I believe that as we go forward, we're going to see more and more coming out of venture. If you look at what's in venture right now, and then coming out of venture, which is where we play, we get to look at a lot of that stuff. And I think that Web3 is certainly, or the internet on blockchain is certainly a thing. It is a meaningful thing now if you're willing to be in now. But when you start talking about finance and DeFi, the regulatory environment is such. If you look recently, 3 platforms that just got found themselves in hot water with
hot water. Yeah.
With
Yeah.
the
So
commodities
you have to be
exchange.
careful. Yeah. It has
Well,
to be.
you have to be careful, and you have to be smart as well. I mean, this is why law firms, really well established law firms, have 40, 50 people in their digital group right now doing nothing but working on things like this to keep those companies
Yeah.
out of hot water.
And it's interesting because I'm going to segue to, we have 2 last questions, but less than 2 minutes. But smart contracts are a great example. I mean, fintech is driving the adoption of smart contracts, which automate financial transactions and agreements within the metaverse, right? Ensuring trustless and efficient transactions. So it's extremely important that we focus on that infrastructure and mass adoption, but regulation. Now, John, what trends or innovations do you anticipate in the coming years that will further integrate Web3, the metaverse, and fintech?
What we're finding here in Dubai, in the Middle East, they're really leaning heavily into Web3 in the metaverse, but we're starting to create custom bespoke metaverse experiences that basically can be done on mobile. And basically it's almost like basically a 3D website. I mean, that's basically what we're building. So they're leaning into Unity and hyper realistic experiences. We're doing something for the Formula One track for the upcoming race in Abu Dhabi. We're working with a large bank in the Middle East to basically create a metaverse experience for their customers. So a lot of really interesting use cases. We're seeing governments, tourism. Those seem to be the 2 big areas in the Middle East that are specifically leveraging this technology. And it makes a ton of sense. Obviously, tourism's probably behind oil, is like the 2nd biggest industry in Dubai in the Middle East. So they're still trying to get more and more people experience this. And what better way than, if you can't physically get on an airplane and spend all that money, come and experience.
Exactly. Imagine seeing the pyramids in the metaverse. I mean, it would be incredible. Now, you're 100% right. And those industries are emerging, and we should definitely be eyeing them, even from an investment perspective. Now, Paul, less than a minute, what advice would you give to fintech professionals looking to explore opportunities in Web3?
I would say have some really good filters in place to understand what really matters and what doesn't. I remember when the internet, when it really got into the websites, and every company had a website, or everybody was jumping on the bandwagon. Get a website. That's back when a website would cost you $50,000 to have developed. And why do you want to invest 50,000? Because you have to have a website. Well, you don't. People think you just have to be part of the metaverse. They don't even know what it is. Or you have to be part of Web3. They don't even know what it is. And so I think people should ask themselves why. And I think they should look at Golden Circle. Golden Circle the whole thing. Why do I want to do this? Or why does it matter to us? What are we going to do? And then how are we going to do it? It's basically a simple 3-phase approach to decision making. But if you approach things that way, you typically don't get caught up in all kinds of the noise. And there is a tremendous amount of noise. And I think the regulatory environment's getting better and better. I think it's getting more and more, constructed, but it's still being built out as well. So,
Yep.
You have to be careful. I would just caution people and have great advisors, have really great advisors, experienced, knowledgeable,
Yes.
track record, advisors.
Yes, because we need to know that I mean, I'm smart enough to know that I don't know everything. And so I'm always
Right.
looking to others for that. But thank you. We are out of time, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us. John, what a pleasure to have you back on.
Thank you. This is
Thank
fun.
you, Zen. Appreciate it, Zen.
That was our innovation and tech segment brought to you by OGPay and Caldwell Soames. Web3, the metaverse, and fintech are definitely interconnected in shaping the future of the digital world. Fintech is not only adapting to these trends, but also fueling them by providing the necessary financial infrastructure and services. Now, as these trends continue to evolve, they will likely create new opportunities and challenges for businesses, individuals, and regulators in the digital age. Definitely check us out right here every Saturday night for more innovation in tech. And do check out landvolt.io. And you can check out John Kraski on LinkedIn at John Kraski, and head to ogpay.com for all your financial technology needs. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OGPay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OGPay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.